Hey everyone, Sharpie here. I know I've been meaning to make this video for quite a while now, but it's time I finally did it. Been doing a bit of research on it and, putting together all my ideas. Essentially, what this is going to do is kind of talk about a bunch of ideas that I think would make the LCS much better as a product. Um, Before we jump into that, though, this is going to be very kind of, I guess, transparent and just raw. I'm not going to really do any editing for it. Just going to kind of ramble my thoughts out, throw it onto YouTube, and just send it from there. Just to recap on some of the changes that we have had onto the LCS, I think, one second as I get my notes fully set to go. There we go. I think the going back to weekends is obviously a fantastic decision. It was the right move to make. Makes it a lot easier to watch. Now, sure, there's some overlap with other things like LEC. Maybe, the Super Bowl is going to be a bit of an overlap with it, but for the most part, you'll be just fine here in NA. Live patch is a great little selling point, and the sped up process that they had to really expedite or cut down rather on the time between games was another great decision. I do think their decision to have only one live show per year is terrible. It's not a smart decision at all. I think they should be going the opposite direction. If you want to make this viable long term, you have to push your way through this esports winter, if you will. And cutting back, I think, is the wrong decision to make. Okay, so that being said, let's jump right into this here. Here's what I would do if I was the commissioner of the LCS looking forward. I'm assuming I can't change anything for Spring Split. I'm not going to attempt to change anything for Spring Split. Spring Split, if this is what it is, this is what it is. Here's what we're doing. So for summer 2024, we're changing the format right off the bat. Especially now that once this first season kind of finishes and a lot of those, you'd hope a lot of those pauses and issues are cleaned up, the LCS broadcast is actually going to be pretty short and you're going to have extra time to, do things. So you're going to have extra time for a few extra games. Now, let's talk about best of twos. I know a lot of people don't like the idea of a best of two because you end up with a tie. And I understand it, as I'm just realizing that this light is making my eyebrows look kind of funky, so I might pivot that back just a little bit. Maybe that's better. I don't know. Regardless, we're running with it like this for now, for the rest of the video, because why not? Best of twos, you can end up with ties. Now, normally that would be a problem. But what happens if the series is actually a true, not just a best of three, but a 3-game scrim, I guess you could say, where it's split across 2 different days. So instead of having 2 best of ones, you have a best of 2 and a best of 1. So your record against whichever team is going to have, someone is going to have a winning record against every team. So the way that I would adjust the format is to make it so that every single day of LCS, there's 2 best of 2s and 2 best of 1s. And that's going to guarantee that every single team plays a best of 2 now and a best of 1 against every single team. I think that would make LCS a lot more compelling to watch. It just be a lot more fun to watch as a product as well, because you have just within the LCS itself, you have some variance. There's a best of 2, there's some best of 1s, stuff like that. The best of 2 series, by the way, we're going to make them fearless drafts. So basically, after you finish game 1, you go into game 2, and the champions that you picked in game 1 are no longer selectable by either team. You have to pick an entirely new set of characters. I think that would make it a lot more interesting as well as a product. And of course, that gets phased out for playoffs, but I think it makes the LCS stronger long term, because now teams are forced to experiment with more drafts. They're forced to be more innovative with what they can do, and and really reach out and find out some more unique champions that they can pick. Yeah, and we're going to kind of keep things running pretty smoothly. With that, outside of that, mostly, things stay the same. You have the quick, rapid fire between games. Between game 1 and game 2 of your best of 2s are basically as quick as you can go. Once you get out of game 1, 5-minute break for a commercial break, let the players run to the bathroom, and you're straight into game 2. You don't need 20 minutes to sit back there and talk about it. You don't need to adapt your strategy. You can just plan 2 whole strategies to begin with and play both of them. A third thing we're going to do come summer, we're going to return to ProView. I think ProView is a great tool to add. Players really like being able to watch that. Fans really liked having the option to tune into a particular player's stream and watch how they play the match. And it's also good for the players because they can do things like when the legendary wonder moment where he pulled up in Microsoft Paint and wrote what is going on. Moments like that are great, and I think we need to have those back. Okay, so that's about all I would be able to change for 2024 summer because your hands are kind of tied, you know. And the real point that you could start making changes is for 2025. So let's talk about After Worlds. After Worlds, we're going to hold an international CQ combine. It'll be in person, and basically any free agent or player who is allowed to explore their options can show up to play in this combine. And then other players from solo queue across the world can also join like a play-in to access the spots in there as well. After this, lobbies are drawn and a double elimination best of one tournament style event is held in a stadium to showcase what the existing top free agents and prospects can offer. And it also gives them the ability to show, am I just some one-hit wonder? How do I play under pressure? Am I just a solo queue player? Am I just a scrims player, etc., to show that you can actually perform when it counts. So an event like that, I think, would add a bunch of eyes onto the LCS and get a lot more investment because now you can have players from all around the world wanting to come and show what they can do. And on top of that, that's going to help, you know, teams here from the LCS, coaches here from the LCS, from Europe, from Latin America, from Brazil, to be able to look at some of the prospects, challengers players in Korea, and those prospects, those free agents and people who are looking for a starting role in a main roster, give them the chance to actually have that on-stage performance to say, is this someone we actually want to use an import slot on or not? One last thing that Riot's going to do between Worlds and the beginning of spring 2025 is we're going to look to get some new partnerships because, spoiler alert, we're going on the road quite a bit in 2025. We're going to seek to partner with the hotel chain and with an airline so that we can secure efficient travel for the team for the upcoming events we're going to do. We want to make sure that all the teams can travel a lot more efficiently, that they can have hotels lined up so they can stay at places without having to fork out thousands of dollars. All right? We're going to do that. For Spain 2025, we're changing import rules. Instead of having 2 import slots per split, teams are allowed 2 import players per year. So you're only allowed to import 2 players every year, and that's your initial one. And once these 2 player slots have been taken up, no other player can take those spots. You can't have, you can't bring on an import for spring and it doesn't work out, and you go and get a different import for summer. You've used your import spot for the year. Okay. And no, you don't get a new set of 2 imports for next year. You only get 1 for next year. And you only get 1 additional one for each year after that. This will help with 2 things. It'll help prevent the boomerang issue that imports tend to have. And it will also make a lot of the teams think twice about saying, do I want to spend one of my import slots on a maybe player when I can also get a regional maybe player that could end up just as well? I think a change like that would be great for the LCS. Another thing that we're going to do before spring split is we're going to partner up with a bunch of more local, let's say maybe local bars or local places all across the United States, Canada, wherever we need to be, and partner up to sponsor some more watch parties. We need to get watch parties going across NA to get a place where fans can go. Maybe we partner up with theaters or something like that, but a place where fans can go and hang out with other fans from their area and watch the LCS together. That will greatly strengthen the brand, and it won't cost very much to do. You just contact a theater, for example, in a region. You say, hey, we want to book this theater from these 2 times on Saturdays and Sundays, and every once in a while on a Friday for Super Week. Yeah. And we just want to book it out one theater once, like 2 to 3 times a week for 2 months. And it shouldn't be something super crazy, because on top of that, we're still going to pay our $8 or whatever to get into the theater, or $10, whatever it may be, to get in and watch. So it shouldn't be that crazy difficult to do. Third thing we're going to do is we're going to get our art direction team forward, and we're going to introduce regional teams, regional skins and team skins. So let's say you've got, let's say LCS decides to go with Kaisa. So there's an LCS Kai'Sa skin, then there's chromas for every single team that is in the LCS that year. And same with EU, same with Brazil, same with LATAM, same with Korea, LPL, PCE, all the different, major regions, major and minor, like official regions across the LCS. I mean, across LoL Esports. Every team will get a skin, kind of like what they did with the Kazakhs thing back in the day for the Worlds Kazakhs, where each team at Worlds kind of got a chroma for them, which was a really cool thing that they did. We're also going to spend the time to make sure we can get LCS back to 10 teams, because I think that's very important for format. The best of 2, best of 1 kind of hybrid format from summer will continue, and we'll have a bit of a longer season as well. We're going to integrate with the LEC. You heard me right. We're doing some cross play with other regions. We're starting off with LEC, and we can move abroad even more from there. Essentially, there will be 2 super weeks, week 3 and week 8. In week 3, LEC teams come to NA to play, and it's one of those like world style where it's a blind draw, where one NA team, or like for each day, an NA team will be picked against an EU team, and you guys each have a best of 1 play against each other, like worlds format. And then in week 8, it's the inverse. LCS teams will travel to EU in the same format. After this as well, so then you get through the regular season, get through playoffs and so that. I don't want to really get into the details of how playoff format works. I think that'd be a lot more of a complex issue, and I don't want to dive too much into that today. But after spring playoffs, a Western Showdown Invitational is held. We're getting back to having invitationals, allowing top teams from, say, ERL, because we want to get ERL more integrated, LEC, LCS, LLA, CBLOL, etc., to compete rather in a tournament, and we can choose where we want that tournament to be. Maybe it's something where maybe it's something in North America, maybe something in Europe, maybe we all go down to Brazil. I don't know what it would be, but something to get, more, not just to kind of get Western League of Legends more exciting and give us a chance to compete against each other, because I think that would be great to have, and not just LEC and LCS, but also get, Brazil, Latin America, and even ERLs. It would be cool to have some of these other smaller teams from, the Prime League, for example, to get Unicorns of Love back in the main stage and playing against your Cloud9s or your Pain Gamings or your G2. That would be very cool to watch. Okay, after this, summer season. Summer 2025 is the official the NA Tour. In addition to also hosting your LEC and LCS Super Weeks, every odd week, so weeks 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, are a home game played in the Riot Arena. All right. So week 3, when LEC comes to LCS, it's a home game. It's held in the Riot Arena. All right. And every even week is a quote away game. So our week 8 is when we go to Europe, and the other even weeks we're going across the country. Maybe we're going to Minneapolis, maybe to Phoenix, Dallas, Miami, Boston, Cincinnati, Seattle, Denver, Calgary, Vancouver, Toronto, wherever we want to go. We're going to set up ahead of time to do like a weekend all across the United States and Canada to give fans an opportunity to get a taste and to get invested. And this is also going to set you up for something in 2026, which I don't want to touch on right now, but you really want to move to regionalizing your league so that teams can build their own arenas and actually have home and away matches. I think what, like, say, K-Corp, Carmine, what they were able to do in France, where they had that huge arena and they fill it out, I think we could do that here if we gave teams, or I guess rather cities, a reason to see how LoL esports can work in your state and in your city. And by doing these away shows and giving them like a full weekend to say, hey, this is how cool this is as a product, we can make this happen, will also be good for helping to market and monetize the league even further. After Worlds 2025, getting into that, pending the success of that NA Tour, maybe we have to do another one, but Riot will officially begin to talk with teams to regionalize, phasing out the need for every single game to be held in LA, allow teams to have their own home and away games held in their own cities, and act in their own stadiums. I think that's the direction you want to move if you want to make esports viable as a long-term product. It's great as a niche product, but if you're stuck in LA, you're not going to be able to scale very well, and people will eventually get tired of just watching it on TV every time. For me, I grew up in Minneapolis, and when I would go to the live sporting events, it was just way cooler to know that, hey, this is my team, not just because I picked that team, but because I can drive 15 minutes across the city and I can go watch them play live. And you get a lot more invested in your team and you get a lot more passionate about your team. And I know some people have talked about that regionalizing in NA wouldn't work. I strongly disagree. Every other traditional sport does it and they do it with great success. And I think esports, it's time to do it as well. And I think that could unironically be rather what gets us out of esports winter, because esports for a long time has been stuck in one area, and how to put this, the reach of it has gone beyond the city where they host all their events, but they've been too scared to actually localize to that spread. And now it's backfired and it's whiplashing back to the small region, and they can't afford to do this weird thing anymore. So you need to take a leap of faith and regionalize. So that's kind of what I would do if I was running LCS, things that I would at least look to do. So just to recap here, we're going to go to a best of 2, best of 1 hybrid schedule. We're going to bring back ProView. We're going to do an international Champions Queue Combine type thing with a tournament style event to show what new international prospects from across the world, the next generation of talent can show. We're going to partner with travel brands like hotels or airlines and stuff like that to start facilitating the spread of LCS across the North America, across the continent. We're going to change our import rules. We're going to bring back we're going to introduce watch parties. We're going to introduce regional and team skin lines. We're going to get back to 10 teams, and we're going to start integrating with other leagues. Kind of like how, let's say in the NFL, you have your own division, and you play 2 games against each team in your division, and then you also have your conference, there's the NFC and the AFC, and you play most of your games in that conference. Well, you play maybe 2 to 4 games in the other conference as well. I think it would be good for League to start doing that as well, to have a couple truly away games against other regions and have that be part of your regular season cycle. We're going to be doing we're going to be doing a Western Showdown Invitational and a North American Tour to show what regular season League of Legends can look like in a bunch of major cities across the United States. All right, I hope this was interesting for you guys, and maybe if there's any people at LCS watching, I hope you get some ideas. I have a lot more ideas, and I would love to reach out and talk with you guys about it, but that's about it for me for now, and go Immortals, I guess.